Hello critters, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a bit, but I'm back with the video today, and I guess I'm gonna get right into it. The topic is on Jojo Siwa and her reaction to all of the Colleen Ballinger allegations. Well, they're not really allegations at this point, but I have to say that legally. But anyways, let's get into it. So, here's the intro. So basically, Jojo Siwa made some comments that were a little concerning and kind of nutty, in my opinion, so I kind of wanted to go and talk about that because I recently talked about James Charles and how Jojo Siwa was like one of the only people to show up to his shitty launch for his makeup brand, and how that was worrying to me as Jojo Siwa has kind of a pattern of still connecting with these problematic people. So with this whole Colleen Ballinger thing, I hadn't even known that they were friends, but apparently they are pretty close and have been for, well, we'll get into that. Jojo Siwa mentioned that she's known her since she was 12 years old, and Colleen was like fucking, what, 30? And they were friends, and they would like text each other and shit about like Colleen's relationship issues. It's something. It's something, all right. But anyways, so yeah, let's get into the interview between Howie Mandel and JoJo. So basically, she was on his talk show, which I didn't even know he had. He's a pretty goofy guy, but he has some pretty. He was trying to get at it. I think he kind of has his own opinions on Colleen Ballinger being a kind of shit person towards minors, and I think he was kind of trying to guide her towards that, but at the same time, she kind of held her own stance. Or basically, how he asked her about the allegations and mentioned like, hey, you're still friends with her, and Jojo was like, yeah,
If I'm wrong, are you friends with Colleen Ballinger still?
Yeah,
What do you say about
I've
that?
known I've known Colleen for since I was 12.
but basically Jojo went on to say that
The internet can take a lie and run so far with it.
and in regards to Colleen's allegations, and that's definitely not the right word to have said, and she kind of backtracks on it a bit later because it's completely dismissing all of the victims of the situation. And it's like calling it a lie is kind of nutty because there's so much evidence against Colleen when it comes to receipts and DMs of things that she had said to minors and all of those things, and literal like video evidence of her being a total freak. But anyways, so yeah, that was something that she said, and a lot of people were very off put by that, and you can kind of see her backpedal a bit, but we'll get into that. So basically, next she kind of goes on to talk about how the Miranda Sings character is different from Colleen's actual person.
Miranda Sings is a character, is a comedian, and I think that it's very hard to be a character where people are also looking at you as you're a real human behind that character.
And that's such an argument that I get kind of annoyed by when it comes to like, even when it comes to like writing versus an author, or like art versus an artist, is like when it comes to these types of art that are like satirizing things, there's always got to be a specific intention behind it. And the Miranda Sings character being like a creep and perpetuating things towards minors is like the intention behind that. Like, why did she have to have that as a bit? Like, why in the first place did her as a person think that it would be funny? It's like, it kind of reminds me, I'm not like equating the two things, but the whole situation with the Cuties film, when they were like, here's a film about the exploitation and sexualization of minors, but to make this film, we're going to exploit and sexualize minors as actresses and make them do sexualized things. And it's like, okay, that's not there's that too. The thing about how Colleen actually like there's a difference between her making jokes about minors and like being a creep. Like, that could be her character, I don't fucking care. But when she starts interacting with minors and actually being a creep towards real minors, i.e. talking to them in group chats, being a total freak, spreading a girl's legs on stage, like, those are real minors that she's affecting, and have come out and said that they have had long-lasting issues. Especially, you see like Adam, the one person who came out about one of the people, not the one person, one of the people who came out has had a lot of issues, especially when Colleen's fandom basically entirely turned on him in the past when he was still pretty young, and that's just very concerning to me. But anyways, yeah, so Jojo mentions that it's Miranda Singh's character that has that kind of raunchy side, and that kind of not excuses the actions, but it kind of explains them. But also bringing that back to Jojo's first point about these things being lies, it's like here Jojo is admitting that the Miranda Singh's character is kind of a creep. I feel like she's kind of implying that that's just Colleen's sense of humor, which I again like isn't a very good sense of humor. There's a difference between having a character be politically incorrect or like raunchy to make a point, and actually just being politically incorrect and raunchy just to be that. Like, I know I'm going on a few tangents, but like with fucking Shane Dawson back in the day when he was doing stupid things, doing stupid like politically incorrect humor, and was like, oh, it's just what everyone was doing with my sense of humor, instead of like trying to make fucking commentary with his politically incorrect humor, he was just being politically incorrect. It's like that's not comedy. That's just like shock value. It's just stupid. It's just cringe. It's just like it just shows how you are as a person and as an artist and as a writer and everything. etc. In these types of things, when people perpetuate these things, I guess, if that makes any sense. But anyways, so yeah. So then Jojo, I'm not gonna like show the whole part because she mentions how they met, and it was when Jojo was 12, of course, and she was on Dance Moms, and there was some kind of opportunity for some of the girls to go meet Colleen, and Jojo wasn't able to, and she was kind of sad because she was a fan of Colleen at the time, and so they went to dinner with Colleen with another girl and their parents, which seems like a very normal, like that's a very normal interaction between an adult and a child who is a fan of them, like in a public space with the parents, having like interaction, being like Jojo talked about how she talked to her about her YouTube channel, and Jojo says she was very inspired by this conversation of this woman that she idols, and that caused Jojo to kind of go on and start her own YouTube and do some other things like that. And it just seems like a very normal interaction. But then Howie's like, yeah, that's a very normal interaction. But basically they go on to talk about how Colleen basically has a very negative view in the public eye right now. And so Jojo says that being canceled, being a very common thing, is something that she's very, like, kind of familiar with, and she knows a lot of people who have been canceled.
There have been a lot of people on the internet who have gotten hit with this cancellation. And a lot of them I know, some of them I don't know. And I look at it and I see that this is a sensitive subject.
And yeah, again, this is kind of going back to my point earlier. I mentioned in a video about James Charles's launch that Jojo Siwa was like one of the only people that big celebrities that I noticed go to his launch. And I found that kind of funny, like, that barely anyone went. Like, that was really big because no one really wants to associate with him to kind of, like, save their own images, I guess, which is good because he shouldn't be being platformed, and, like, basically he had to kind of sneak in to get celebrities to even wear his makeup in the first place. He kind of had to be sneaky about it because no one wants to fucking associate with him. But Jojo went to his launch, and also we saw Jojo kind of be friends with Shane Dawson. I'm not sure, like, how close they are. There's probably like a deep dive to do on that too. Maybe I'll do something on that in the future, because I know that there was that whole thing about her still being friends with Shane Dawson after everything about Shane Dawson came out, and everyone was like, that's kind of weird, especially because I think Jojo was even like maybe still a minor at that point, maybe 18, and she's 20 years old right now, which of course she is an adult, and you can't really excuse her actions like completely because she is an adult, but at the same time being 20, like I'm 23 and I'm like a fucking dumbass a lot of the time. Like I feel like when you're 20, like it goes to show it goes to show that Jojo as a 20-year-old is one of the only people defending these people who have been canceled versus their older friends, because Jojo feels like, I think they're using her kind of immaturity to their advantage to go and bat for them, which I think is really kind of fucked up. But anyways, moving on. So basically, I think near the end of the interview, Jojo kind of realizes that she said something that could be taken wrong, and she says that it's a very sensitive situation. She doesn't really say anything of note there. She kind of just goes right back to saying that, like, there's a lot of lies on the internet, which isn't exactly. I mean, yeah, a lot of people can be lied about. There's a lot of shit that can come out about people, and people can like. I'm not saying that cancel culture is cancel culture. It's such a fucking touchy topic, and I think that canceling people, quote unquote, is way different than people just being held accountable for gross actions. Like, canceling someone over a tweet they made like 20 years ago is way different than being like, Colleen Ballinger has horribly affected these minors in these unspeakable ways for many years, and her apology was shit. She came out with a fucking ukulele, and she has not, like, I don't know, it's fucking crazy. You know what I mean. But anyways, that's about like the gist of the interview, and I kind of want to go on into a few of my own points on what I think about the whole situation. So basically, I think overall, I haven't really followed JoJo's controversy very much, but I remember when she came out, of course there's a lot of people that were against her just for her identity, and I as a queer person can understand that, but I think that she as a young person and as a queer person who is like has a fucking massive platform, probably one of the largest platforms that a queer creator has at the moment. I think that she has an issue with trying to take a side on a topic. And I think here she definitely took Colleen's side, but at the same time, she tried to stay very lukewarm about it, and I've seen her do this with things in the past. I think she has a really hard time trying to take a side on a topic, trying to be too, like, intense on anything because of how much controversy she had over her very identity. And I see this with a lot of queer people who are, like, have huge platforms trying to be, like, as completely unproblematic as possible because any respect towards a queer creator can be taken away in an instant with like a single fucking mistake, and it's really kind of fucked up. And I can see a lot of queer creators try to kind of stay very unproblematic and in the center of things because they don't want whatever they've built up, that respect from centrists and people who are slightly homophobic, to just completely fucking drop them the second that they say, oh, this queer person is stupid and terrible and has made a single mistake. And like also with like, you see that with a lot of queer creators who I feel like are more scrutinized when it comes to more like, not controversial, but I feel like more like maybe leftist opinions. And I think that these people are more scrutinized as being like, oh my god, insane lefties and stuff, just because they're queer. And it's just something that's really fucked up, and I really hope that gets kind of more normalized in the future, that queer people can like not be fucking the pinnacle of centrism and still be able to hold a large platform, because it's really annoying. And I know I think it's with a lot of minorities that have like histories of, I don't even know how to fucking say it, but like having to tiptoe on subjects because, again, that little ounce of respect that is given can be taken away in an instant, which is completely fucking wrong. But anyways, that was a bit of a tangent, and I think that is maybe part of why JoJo is so kind of lukewarm on these types of topics and afraid to rock the boat, afraid to kind of come out against Colleen or against anyone. I think she does believe that Colleen is a good person, and I think that is attributed to her knowing Colleen for like 8 years since she was 12, and I'm guessing she really doesn't want to confront the fact that perhaps this person she looked up to for 8 years may not be a good person, which it's pretty difficult. Like, if she's 20, I'm trying to think about people who I've known since I was 12, and that's a long time. It's probably difficult for her, but also, of course, I'm not excusing her. But yeah, I think that's also why she never talked about the James Charles allegations, because, I mean, yeah, even that, having a queer creator talk about another queer creator can be kind of difficult when it comes to having large platforms. And it's, even in James Charles's own apologies, you can see he was like trying to be very corporate, very lukewarm. Another thing I noticed, she even mentions that once you're an adult and interacting with children, you kind of realize from the other side that, like, wow, that was kind of weird the way those adults were interacting towards me.
I realized when I hit 18, I was like, oh, this is different now. Like, because,
Right.
you know, you're young and you're dumb, and I was like, I need to be very careful about this.
And she kind of talks about how she tries to keep that distance between herself and her younger fans. And I think that's kind of a bit of self-awareness in her being like, yeah, it's kind of weird that Colleen was texting her minor fans when she had this fucking massive fan base.
No, I don't think that communicating with fans is you got to be careful to not
And that's what I'm saying,
to
like-
not blur a friend-fan line. It's very tough.
So I think that was kind of a moment of self-reflection there, but she kind of doesn't really get too far into it because, again, I don't think she wants to see that flaw in Colleen due to their long shared past since Jojo was very young. And I'm just wondering also if once Jojo grows older, she'll realize more how messed up it all is. But for now, I'm not, again, of course, I'm not excusing her comments. Her saying the victims are lying was definitely not something that should have been said and was incredibly harmful, especially with her massive platform. Like, her massive platform could be seeing this interview and seeing her say that these things about Colleen are lies, and without the full knowledge of the situation, which I'm sure a lot of people know, but a lot of people might not know because a lot of people aren't really like online that much. And it grew to the mainstream, I feel like, Colleen's allegations, but I think that with that massive platform of people who might not know the full story and think that Jojo is this very unproblematic person, which of course she's not. Everyone has flaws, and that's, you know what I mean. People with platforms, people go to these platforms expecting content creators and people they idolize to give them the opinions that they should have. So seeing Jojo say that these are all lies and Colleen's a good person, her platform of people who follow her might not know the full story and might take that at face value and say, oh, Colleen Ballinger is a good person because I'm taking the word from Jojo, who I respect and think is a good person. But anyways, that's part of the danger of having a large platform as well, and going and saying these kind of very, very touchy things, especially calling these things lies, was like not the fucking right thing to say at all. And everyone mentioned that, but yeah, anyways. Yeah, basically last thing, I also saw, this is going back to an earlier point as well, Trisha Paytas made a video, or like she was on her podcast talking about Jojo's comments, and she mentioned that it was weird that Jojo seems to be the only one going to defend Colleen, and you can't kind of overlook the fact that Jojo being 20 and Colleen being what, like fucking 40. Like, Jojo's the only one going to defend her and going to defend these other content creators who have been canceled, because she doesn't have the maturity yet, or she hasn't had the self-reflection time of being an adult to realize that the things that they're doing to minors is completely wrong, because she still is in that kind of mindset of looking up to these adults as being unproblematic and wanting to like interact with these people. And it's really kind of bad because it's like she's still blinded by the idolization of Colleen, especially because she mentions so much how much she looked up to Colleen when she was younger. And I think that it's really fucked up that Colleen is kind of just letting her go to bat for her, and these other content creators do the same thing and are kind of weaponizing her large platform as well as her youth to kind of sit back and let her go defend them. And again, like, you don't see, I've barely seen anyone defend Colleen, which is why this was so out of left field that Jojo is doing it, but it also makes sense with the fact that Jojo is so young. And it's kind of horrific, because again, like, I think that she will realize, especially with the backlash she's facing right now, a lot of people are really mad at her, like, understandably, for saying these things. I think that hopefully she'll grow to understand and kind of like reflect and sit back and be like, okay, maybe Colleen isn't the person I made her out to be, and I hope that she does that kind of within herself. She just needs to kind of sit back for a bit on the situation, I think. But anyways, yeah, it's really kind of a rough situation, and that's just my comments on that. I wanted to talk about it. I know that happened a bit ago. I've been a little burnt out with different work. I'm hoping to make more videos soon. This is more of a commentary video again, but I'm hoping to make like more longer form videos, like documentary style, in the future. But like I have a really hard time editing. I don't know why, but editing is like wearing two left shoes for me. Editing is really hard for me. I try very hard, and it takes a very long time for me to edit things, which I know, like, I need to, like, streamline how I do it, but also one thing is that I do stutter a lot, and I have to cut out, like, all my fucking stutters during my recording, which takes a long time, which is why, like, if I make a longer form video, either I'll just fucking leave in most of the stutters or some of them, or it would take a really fucking long time to edit them, because even now, editing videos is like, oh my god, it's like fucking pulling teeth for me trying to edit out all my stutters and different, like, fucking, I don't know, it's rough. But anyways, yeah, I'm hoping to come out with more videos soon. If you guys have any topics that you'd like me to talk about, leave them down below. I'd love to know. Yeah, basically, if you're new to the channel, you should make sure to leave a like and subscribe and a comment. It really helps the algorithm. I'm really trying to grow my channel. I'm hoping to hit 10K by the end of the year, which I know is like a huge goal, but I've been having a lot of fun lately trying to grow this channel, and I'm hoping to do more things within the future. I do art, as you can see. Hopefully I'll do more like videos on the art community, more art things. And again, like hopefully some more like longer form videos in the future as well, because that's something that I'm really interested in and I really want to do. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'll see y'all in the next video. So bye.